And then most of the time he brought his weapon with him, such as the cords from window blinds, things like that. But as far as he goes, I mean, he was a pretty simple method of killer. It's more like, what do you guys think is the most notorious thing about him? Do you think it's the nickname BTK or the fact that he had that long period of silence? Because obviously the nickname is a big deal, just like Zodiac Killer, but I feel like the long period of silence also plays into his notoriety.
Yeah, for sure. And I think part of that is the long period of silence, as we talked about earlier, gave him a feeling of considerable power, knowing that he could take time off and, from doing that, but still peruse and look around for potentials, but also have some sort of control over law enforcement and the media, very much in the same vein that Zodiac had. So I see a lot of parallels there.
Absolutely. And, this is a guy who, when I look at him, I'm pretty repulsed by him overall. But he actually has groupies, which surprises me. Like, I get it, okay? Don't get me wrong. I'm a dude, so I can't really be attracted to any of these people. But I can tell the difference between an ugly motherfucker and a non-ugly motherfucker. I get the Ramirez love. I get the, sort of, the Dahmer love, the Bundy love, that type of thing. Well, I look at Dennis Rader, and I'm like, there are really women sending him love letters and stuff. This is fucking weird. But there are. And I find that really strange. Vic can tell you something. I won't name the person's name because maybe he doesn't want me to, but Vic, we both know somebody that loves BTK. Talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, one of my pretty good friends, her favorite serial killer is BTK, and I'm not real sure why.
I don't get it. It's so bizarre.
I don't understand it at all. But, I don't think it's an attraction thing. I don't think she thinks she's like some mega hunk or something like that. I think she just, maybe she's into like, the bondage, the binding, the torturing. I don't know. I don't know
either. Fellas, would you put him in any of your top 5 favorite serial killers? And you guys know what I'm saying when I say, favorite. Obviously, I don't need to explain that over and over again on this podcast. He's nowhere near the top for me. I feel like he kind of got lucky.
Well, I don't put him in my top 5, as you say, but I do consider him to be one of the prototypical serial killers. So I reference him a lot. Whereas when you look at other ones that I'll put Panzram in top, because it's simply because of the volume of people and how he was just an awful human being. And there's a lot of little fun facts with Panzram. But with Rader, he's just so, to me, he is just the guy you're going to be right behind, in traffic or whatever. If you're working with him in a Coleman factory or something, like. That's the thing that scares me about people like BTK. He could be anybody.
Yeah, he's the most, I don't know how to describe this. He's the most normal-looking serial killer I've seen. I know everybody said Bundy was good-looking and Dahmer's good-looking and all this shit, but there's something about them that I can't quite put my finger on. But Rader looks like some just grumpy old fuck next door. I would never think he was doing that. Especially when he talks about his crimes. He just doesn't seem like the type of guy that would do the things he did. Now, granted, I could see him being the asshole that's like telling some woman, that he's like stalking her and stuff, and then he kills her dog. I could see that shit. But the other things he did, I don't know. I don't know. It's just really weird that we can't believe what we see with our own eyes, and that's kind of the appeal and the thing that makes us, frightened of some of these people. But, yeah, what do you guys think of his name, BTK? Good nickname, bad nickname? I heard on another podcast they were saying it's a shitty nickname, and I thought it was actually pretty good.
Well,
I like
what was that?
Vic said he likes the nickname.
Yeah. I'm going to vote thumbs down for that nickname. It's too... He can come up with something a little bit more creative. He's already a strangler, so... He could have been the Wichita Strangler, right? Yeah, I know. They call him the BTK Strangler, which doesn't make, if you're binding them, you're already strangling them, so...
You know who has one of the best nicknames? The Cleveland Torso Murderer. That's a fucking great nickname. That's one that jumps right off the page at you.
It does.
I'm just saying. All right, what about you, Blake? You like BTK as a nickname?
Not really. It's kind of just, it's unusual because you're like, what the hell does that mean if you don't know? And then you look it up, you're like, oh, well, he finds, tortures, and kills. No shit. So to a majority of serial killers out there, there's not really anything that makes him that much more goddamn special than the next crazy asshole, right? But it's not anything special. I like, more descriptive names, obviously, or names that are catchy, like Jack the Ripper or the shoe fetish killer, something that's kind of just unusual sounding. It's like, shoe fetish, the fuck, or stuff like that. BTK is just like saying, it's just very nondescript. It's descriptive, but also basic, sort of like he is. He looks like somebody's fucking well, he is somebody's fucking father. He just looks like somebody's, he just looks like some guy that is, you just live next door to that really is not any different than the other guy that lives next door to you on the other side. But I guess maybe that's the allure for some of the women with him, is that he has this appearance of being sort of an everyday Joe. And I guess sort of this all-American Boy Scouts of America. I'm good doing this in church, this, that, and the other, and then at night I'm strangling people and jerking off on them. That's just, I don't know. It's sort of, I guess, sort of like he's like the corruption. He's like the American dream, but underneath the American dream is the American fucking nightmare. Sort of like that, outside exterior. We talked about it with American Psycho. Sort of like this outside appearance versus the seedy, truthful, nature of things. It's rotten below the surface. And that's sort of what I think of when I think of him. And he looks like an asshole, too. He's always making some fucked up face in all the pictures that I see of him. It's like, you're not scary. You're an ugly motherfucker, okay? You're not scary. You just killed people. You picked on women, and oftentimes it was women that you deemed, unable to defend themselves. It was all about power for you. He's just some prick, man. I don't really have any respect for him at all. I think it's crazy that he got away with it for so long, but I also think that it's crazy that the Indian thug Bashram killed 931 people with a red sash and got away with it for so fucking long, too. So, other than that, there's not really anything special about the guy.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't have anything nice to say about him. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things where it's like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the time that I took to research him. But on the other hand, like, whenever I was talking to Catherine last week, I just was thinking to myself, at a certain point, I'm not even sure what to ask you because I don't find him that interesting. Like, he's almost like like I talk about this all the time. School shooters do not interest me. They're just a bunch of losers. And this guy feels like just a loser. So there's nothing that, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's a lack of mystery because I still feel like there's some mystery surrounding him or what it is, but maybe it's just because he looks like just some loser. I don't know. It's funny, though, the difference between him and, like, other people out there that have committed similar crimes. But, yeah, I suppose it is what it is. If you guys want further reading on BTK, read Catherine Ramsland's book. You can fucking look them up on YouTube, all sorts of shit like that, and, kind of make your own judgments. But for me, he's not my top upper echelon of serial killers, but, you got to give, I guess, some sort of respect for taunting the cops and getting away with it for that long. That's the one thing I like about him. I like when people fuck with the cops. That stuff's funny to me.
Didn't really work out for him in the end, though, right?
No,
he fucked with the cops, and he,
yeah. Well, I mean, I think Zodiac would get busted now too if he tried that shit. Jack the Ripper, you try doing that in the 2000s, you're going to get caught. It's just there's too many ways to trace people now. Your thumbprint is on the world. You will get. It's almost impossible to live off the grid where nobody's going to catch you. You know, especially when you're jacking off at the crime scene.
That's right.
Dumbass. Oh well, he deserved it, I guess. And for people who wonder why he's not been executed, Kansas didn't have the death penalty at the time of his murders, so he's still around. He's still doing whatever the hell he's doing in there. He's in solitary confinement because, like a lot of these guys, his ass would be dead. He would be Dahmered if he was in the general population. So there he sits, just kind of away from everybody else. And he's, what does he get, like 5 life sentences for like
135
years?
135 years. So he'd be eligible in 2180 when he's 135 years old or whatever. He got a lot of shit. He got a lot of years. So he'll never get out. He'll die, and then they'll bury his fucking body probably on the ground. So I don't know if they still do that or not. They used to. If you died before your sentence was up, you'd stay buried in the prison or the prison cemetery or somewhere there till your sentence was up, and then they'd throw your dead ass to whatever family was left after your sentence was up. I don't know if they still do that shit anymore. I have no idea.
So, Johnny, I don't think I've ever had a chance to talk to you about this. I know we talked about it over the last couple of weeks. You know, over the weekend was the 11-year anniversary of the Benoit family tragedy. Johnny, do you remember when you heard about this? Even if you're not a fan of wrestling, it's not your thing, that type of thing. Do you remember hearing about the Benoit family tragedy? Because it fucked all of us up.
No, I don't. I don't really. I don't remember that.
It was such a surreal moment for us. I mean, because we're all Blake's not as big of a wrestling fan as Vic and me, but like whenever that happened.
Hey, that's not cool. Of course, I like old school wrestling, yes, and I watched it up until those murders were committed. But after that, my brother tried to get me into TNA, and I mean, outside of Samoa Joe and AJ Styles and a couple of other ones that I liked, I really wasn't big into Christopher Daniels. I wasn't big into it after that, but I was for many years a very, very big fan. My father was working the NWA with Nick Goulas. So, I mean, I know all about it.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to touch nerve, Blake.
No, it's just everybody thinks because I write horror books and work in film and all that I don't know anything about wrestling and all that shit. It's just kind of...
Let's not forget, too, what you did before you got on the air. You actually broke into somebody's house, tied them up, tortured them, and then stole their headset.
Yeah, what am I, BTS, bind, torture, and steal? Is that what I am?
Yeah. Blake's like, fuck it, I'll just leave you there. If you starve, you starve. If you die, you die.
If he dies, he dies, right?
Yeah. He's nice like that. You know, he's not actively trying to kill anybody. He just wants to steal their shit.
Yeah, and I have a sweet ass porn stash, so I'm just saying.
Oh. Well, I guess we'll wrap up our BTK and serial killer discussion for this week. Let me just say that next month, we're going to be talking about Richard Speck. And then I think the month after that, Why do I keep doing this? Menendez brothers. Fuck me. That's
I don't know. What about
me.
1983, buddy? Don't forget the 1983.
Yeah, what a shit year for horror. That's coming in 2 weeks. 1980.
Yeah.
But I was just talking about the serial killer portion of things. You know? Yeah. So there's polls up on our Facebook page right now for 1983. There's a couple that have been up. I fucked up and I didn't post one today, but there's one up tomorrow, the next day, and the next day after that. So our little voting's getting going there. And Johnny, since you were nice enough to come on with us, let me give you the opportunity to plug Serial Killer Quote of the Day and anything else you want to plug before we let you head on down the road until our next one.
Yeah, so the only thing we have is the book on Amazon and like us on Facebook. So
the app is so amazing. It makes my day every morning to see a new serial killer quote of the day. And it sounds like I'm doing a commercial for you, but it's actually true. So we appreciate that. Us and the technical, like Blake, he uses like a rotary dial and doesn't even have a cell phone because he lives in bumfuck Nashville. So he's never actually seen
Travis is drunk, Johnny. Pay him